This story is suitable. Title: It felt like control was taken away from me. Pregnancy complications putting migrant women at risk. Women with migrant backgrounds are at higher risk of developing pregnancy complications that can lead to medical interventions during birth. According to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, migrant women are also more likely to have interventions during labour, such as the use of forceps or caesareans. For Tongan New Zealander Caitlin Macca, a low-risk pregnancy became higher risk after she was diagnosed with preeclampsia. This meant she had fewer birthing options and had more medical interventions during birth. Macca's story highlights the importance of continuity of care for women during pregnancy regardless of their backgrounds. Instagram and SEO-friendly hashtags. Title: Australia's top blood donor drives 200 kilometres every fortnight to save lives. Jeff Blogg, Australia's top blood donor, has set an example by driving 200 kilometres every fortnight to donate blood for 57 years. With 854 donations to his credit, Mr. Blogg is motivated by the need for blood rather than his personal goal of being the country's top donor. The Red Cross Lifeblood is in dire need of blood donations, especially blood types A and O, which could save up to 3 lives with each donation. With winter around the corner, the organisation anticipates a severe shortage of donors as people cancel appointments due to illness. Mr. Blogg encourages people to donate blood, calling it a good habit to get into. Conservationists file complaint with ASIC over fertiliser producers' climate marketing. The Environmental Defenders Office (EDO), acting for the Conservation Council of SA, has requested that the Australian Securities and Investments Commission (ASIC) investigate whether Lee Creek fertiliser company Neurise's marketing of its processing plant is misleading about its climate impacts. Neurize has denied the allegations, stating that it had independently audited its sites and purchased offsets to ensure it was carbon neutral. The EDO argues that an investigation should be launched to determine whether the marketing statements are in accordance with the Corporations Act 2001 and Australian consumer law. Neurize plans to start production in 2025. Title: Australia's economy shows sign of slowdown with 0.2% growth in March quarter. Australia's economy grew by 0.2% in the March quarter, signalling a marked slowdown in economic activity as economists were expecting a higher growth rate. The Bureau of Statistics announcement means that the country's economy is now growing at an annual rate of 2.3%, down from 2.7% at the end of 2022. This news could impact the country's economic policies and future investments. Experts predict that Australia's GDP will continue to slow down in the coming months. Title: Australian prawn farmers fear disease risk as government fails to ban raw prawn imports. The Australian government has been accused of neglecting its prawn farmers, as the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry (DAF) released a much-awaited final report, 7 years after its initiation, to review the biosecurity risks of imported prawns and prawn products. Prawn farmers fear that without a ban on uncooked prawn imports, Australia may be exposed to more devastating crustacean diseases. Currently, imported prawns can enter Australia without being cooked or tested for several serious emerging diseases. Prawn farmers believe that their industry is being sacrificed for trade issues, despite the risk of importing further diseases. Title: Sydney Harbour sees significant reduction in plastic bag pollution. Seabin, a marine waste collection company, has reported a 70% reduction in plastic bags in Sydney Harbour since businesses were banned from giving out lightweight plastic bags in 2022. The company has filtered 15 billion litres of water, collecting more than 100 tonnes of litter from the harbour since a trial with the City of Sydney in 2020. While this is a significant improvement, CEO Pete Seglinski says the biggest waste issue is still microplastics, which have made up 44% of the contents picked up by the bins. The state government has also banned single-use plastic straws, cutlery, and cotton buds. Former fire chiefs fear dangerous emergency reforms in lead-up to next bushfire season. Two former Tasmania Fire Service (TFS) chiefs have described emergency service reforms as creating dangerous levels of bureaucracy and a dire situation in the lead-up to a potentially dry fire season. Last week, TFS Chief Officer Dermot Barry resigned from his post over concerns that his role would effectively be subservient to the Police Commissioner. The government is pushing ahead with a merger of the TFS and the State Emergency Service to create the Tasmania Fire and Emergency Services (TFES). However, the decision to give the Police Commissioner increased decision-making power over fire and emergency management has caused concern. Former fire chiefs say the powers of the fire service have been significantly diluted over the past decade. Bill Johnston loses control of Banksia Hill in new WA cabinet as Rita Saffioti promoted to Treasurer. Incoming WA Premier Roger Cook has announced his cabinet, with Corrective Services Minister Bill Johnston stripped of the problem-plagued portfolio. It will now fall to Paul Papalia, who will remain responsible for police, defence industry and veterans issues. Mr. Cook will continue to be responsible for the state's economic diversification, taking on the portfolio of state and industry development, jobs and trade. Hashtags. Father in suspected murder-suicide had gun licence cancelled last year. New South Wales Police confirmed that the man at the centre of a suspected murder-suicide in northern New South Wales had his gun licence revoked sometime in 2022. The gun found at the scene was registered to Wayne Smith, but his licence had previously been suspended in August 2022. The bodies of the 58-year-old and his 15-year-old son Noah were found at a home in Yamba last week. The New South Wales Firearms Registry implemented several major changes after the deaths of Jack and Jennifer Edwards, who were shot dead by their violent father in 2018. Title: Opal miners to receive refunds following 8-year departmental error. Opal miners in New South Wales will receive refunds from the government after a departmental administrative error left them without valid licenses for 8 years. Natural Resources Minister, Courtney Houssos, has announced that the refund scheme will cover the costs of administration levies, licence fees, and renewal costs. The error was caused by an unnoticed stipulation requiring miners to send a letter to landowners 7 days before the licence was approved. The government has promised to fast-track the process of revalidating the 3,340 licences affected, with hopes of getting miners back to work in weeks. Former massage therapist pleads not guilty to 66 charges including rape and indecent assault. Former massage therapist Sumit Satish Rastogi has pleaded not guilty to 66 charges, including rape and indecent assault, after being accused of 112 sexual offences. Rastogi, who worked at Forever Massage in Glenelg, was arrested and charged last year. The charges against him include 3 counts of rape, 57 counts of indecent assault, and 52 counts of indecent filming that date back to October 2021. After initial reports of his arrest, another 4 women came forward alleging he had indecently assaulted them. Rastogi will face the district court in October for an arraignment hearing. Outbreak of mosquito-borne disease in the NT sparks health warning. The Northern Territory in Australia is facing an outbreak of Murray Valley encephalitis (MVE) after recording its highest number of cases in a single year. There have been 7 cases of the potentially fatal mosquito-borne disease, with 2 fatalities, recorded so far this year. NT Health is urging residents and tourists to protect themselves against MVE by avoiding mosquito bites, using repellent, and wearing protective clothing. The department has also warned that remote community residents and people visiting parks and recreation areas are at greater risk. Mosquito testing conducted in Darwin has confirmed the presence of the MVE virus in mosquitoes in the Top End, Central Australia, and Barkly regions. Title: US SEC lawsuits against Coinbase and Binance could change crypto industry. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has filed lawsuits against major cryptocurrency exchanges, Coinbase and Binance, accusing them of operating in a web of deception and evading disclosure requirements meant to protect investors. The SEC claims that the exchanges traded securities that should have been registered, including tokens such as Solana, Cardano, and Polygon. If successful, the lawsuits could transform the crypto market by asserting the SEC's jurisdiction over the industry and redefining what constitutes a security. Crypto companies refute this definition, but many have already boosted compliance and expanded outside the US in response to the crackdown. Checks to be phased out by 2030 as mobile wallet use skyrockets in Australia. The Australian government announced on Wednesday that it aims to phase out cheques by no later than 2030, as usage of cheques has been declining with digital transactions being more accessible, cheaper, and easier. According to the Australian Banking Association (ABA), cheque payments only make up 0.2% of all payments, and are more expensive to process compared to other payment types. Meanwhile, the use of mobile wallets in Australia has increased significantly, with more than 15.3 million cards registered to mobile wallets in 2022. The popularity of mobile wallet transactions has increased from $746 million in 2018 to over $93 billion in 2022. Understandable concern as lead detected in drinking water at Far North Queensland schools. Elevated levels of lead have been found in water supplies at a kindergarten, primary, and secondary schools in Far North Queensland's Yarrabah, an Aboriginal community. Children and staff are being offered bottled water and blood tests while investigations into the contamination are ongoing. Queensland's Chief Health Officer has assured the community that while the situation is concerning, it is still safe for non-drinking purposes. Yarrabah Aboriginal Shire Council Mayor Ross Andrews called for agencies to work towards identifying the problem and finding a solution. Investigations are ongoing, but the lead is likely originating from corrosion in plumbing within the facilities. Domestic assault charges dropped against Olympic boxer Harry Garside. Olympic bronze medalist and Australian boxer Harry Garside has been cleared of domestic assault charges. The case was dropped after Garside's lawyers provided recordings and communications to the police that cleared him of any wrongdoing. Garside was arrested at Sydney International Airport last month and charged with 1 count of domestic violence-related common assault over an alleged incident on March 1 in Sydney's east. The boxer expressed his gratitude to his family and friends, who supported him through the ordeal. Garside is currently preparing to qualify for the 2024 Paris Olympics. Truck driver in court over crash that injured students. Adelaide truck driver Sang Van Honey, 60, has been charged with 2 counts of dangerous driving after he allegedly hit 2 school students at a pedestrian crossing in March this year. The incident occurred near Marriotteville High School in Adelaide's eastern suburbs, with a boy and girl both aged 16 injured and a third student narrowly missed. Honey appeared in court for the first time this week, with his lawyer requesting a 5-month adjournment until October this year and an interpreter in the next proceedings. The truck driver will return to the Adelaide Magistrates Court later this year. Woman arrested after 3-car crash in Adelaide's northwest. A 37-year-old woman has been arrested after failing to stop for police and crashing into 3 cars in Adelaide's northwest. The woman was driving a black Commodore sedan when officers attempted to pull her over, but she allegedly refused to stop. The vehicle was not pursued, but moments later, it was involved in a 3-car crash. The driver of one of the other vehicles sustained non-life-threatening injuries in the crash. The woman who failed to stop for police sustained minor injuries and has been arrested, with police expecting her to face numerous charges. Woman pleads not guilty to manslaughter over fatal crash in Was Southwest. Melissa Jade Anthony, a 26-year-old woman, has pleaded not guilty to allegedly killing a man and injuring 2 others in a drunken, high-speed crash in Western Australia's southwest. She is alleged to have crashed into a tree near Calgup, near Busselton, in the early hours of September 3 last year. Her charges include manslaughter, dangerous driving causing grievous bodily harm, driving in excess of 30 km over the speed limit and driving with a blood alcohol level over 0.08. The crash highlights the high rate of road deaths and injuries in regional WA. National Gallery of Australia postpones controversial APY art exhibition. The National Gallery of Australia has indefinitely postponed the exhibition of artworks from South Australia's Anangu Pitjantjatjara Yankunytjatjara (APY) lands. The exhibition, titled Noora Polka, was delayed a month ago to allow an independent review of allegations that non-Aboriginal assistants had painted parts of the works. The postponement will allow for a joint federal, South Australian, and Northern Territory government investigation, the terms of which are yet to be announced, to take place. The APY Arts Centre Collective, which contributed to the exhibition, has welcomed the decision. The gallery has not given a new date for the show. Title: Man pleads not guilty to sledgehammer murder of estranged wife. A jury heard how Sean Sturgis allegedly clubbed his estranged wife Jacqueline over the head with a 1.8 kg sledgehammer, causing her death in their former family home in Narangba in April 2020. The attack followed a conversation about child support which had set Mr. Sturgis off because he believed he was getting fleeced. Sturgis pleaded not guilty to the domestic violence murder at the Supreme Court in Brisbane. The prosecution told the jury the crime was premeditated and his intention was to cause grievous bodily harm. The trial is expected to last 7 days. Workers at one of Victoria's most loved tourist attractions vote to strike. Unionised workers at Sovereign Hill, one of Victoria's most popular tourist attractions, have voted in favour of a strike of up to 24 hours. The vote comes in response to a dispute over pay and working conditions that has been ongoing for 11 months. The Media Entertainment and Arts Alliance, which represents the workers, has demanded a higher pay rise, the reinstatement of weekend penalty rates, and a cap on the use of voluntary labour. Sovereign Hill management is putting its offer out to all staff for a vote tomorrow. The final outcome will be decided on June 14. Title: CSIRO to implement random drug testing for staff nationwide. The Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation (CSIRO) is planning to introduce random drug testing for all its staff, visitors and contractors across the nation. The proposed alcohol and other drugs policy includes testing for cannabis, even though a significant number of employees are legally allowed to possess and use the drug. The policy also includes cause testing, which would enable line managers to enforce an immediate drug test at any time. The union has raised concerns about privacy, disproportionate measures, and discrimination, but CSIRO management maintains that the policy aims to provide safe and healthy working environments. Link. Title: Natural gas could play major role in Darwin's Middle Arm Precinct. The Middle Arm Sustainable Development Precinct on Darwin Harbour will require natural gas, according to documents obtained by the Northern Territory government. The documents revealed that so-called blue hydrogen, which requires natural gas and carbon capture and storage, will play a significant role in the precinct's development. In the balanced scenario, blue hydrogen production is twice as much as green hydrogen, which is produced through renewable energy. The NT government is hoping to secure a Commonwealth investment to fund the project. The precinct could support up to 20,000 jobs and would be a sustainable initiative that harnesses new technologies to provide energy both domestically and internationally. Rain welcomed by outback graziers after dry, dusty conditions. Outback graziers in far west New South Wales have received a much-needed reprieve from the dry conditions with the arrival of a wet winter front. The rain soaked paddocks and flooded streets, bringing in the first significant rainfall in 6 months. Graziers on outback properties have been waiting patiently for rain to return, and this rainfall will allow fresh growth and boost stock. However, with predictions of an El Niño on the horizon, farmers are hoping for widespread rainfall in the region. Army Major reveals doubts over Wizbreak landing that caused bushfire. An Army Major has testified at a coronial inquiry into the Auroral Valley bushfire south of Canberra in 2020, stating that he may not have authorised a helicopter to land for a crew member's toilet break if he had been asked. The unplanned landing ignited the fire when a light on the helicopter came into contact with dry grass, which subsequently spread across the Namadgi National Park and destroyed properties in New South Wales. The Army major also revealed that he did not include a risk assessment for an unplanned landing in the authorized mission. The inquiry continues to investigate the fire's circumstances. Jenny Craig collapses in Australia and New Zealand after no buyer found for weight loss company. Jenny Craig's Australian and New Zealand operations are closing down after administrators failed to find a buyer for the weight loss company's physical stores. FTI Consulting, who were appointed as administrators for the company on May 9, said Jenny Craig Australia and NZ would immediately cease trading from its stores and employees would be made redundant. No buyer could be found despite 15 interested parties participating, 4 of which submitted non-binding indicative offers, according to FTI Consulting. The online capacity of the business will be sold to healthcare technology company Eucalyptus, which will continue to offer online weight loss solutions to customers.